My name is Pastor Mick McLaughlin with Grace Upon Grace, of Ministry of Grace 25. Sorry I'm a little late this morning. I had some issues getting on. But anyway, we're alive now, so that's all that matters. I appreciate you joining me today, and I pray this will be a blessing to you. Today we're going to continue with our series we've been looking at last couple of days about faith. It's just a simple fact that sometimes life feels good, and sometimes it doesn't. It pretty much goes without saying that if life is better when it feels good, when your relationships are working, when money is coming in on time, when the bills are getting paid, you got some extra money, when you're feeling great, you're in good health, when your kids are behaving, when you're enjoying your job, or if you're an owner, your employees are doing their job, life feels pretty good at these moments, and we enjoy those. But as we talked about the last couple of days, there are times when this doesn't happen. There are times when there are vacancies that are created in your life. Needs are immediately not met, and problems aren't immediately solved. These situations are a divine invitation for us to put our faith into action. They are God's ordained opportunity to experience His overcoming power in our life. God doesn't respond to our needs. He doesn't respond to our wants. He responds to our faith. He already knows our needs. He already knows our wants. He already knows our heart's desires. But as we shared the last several days, He responds to us believing Him. God cares about your needs, and He really wants to meet them. But it's our faith that moves the heart of God. He cares about your wants. He wants to give you the desires of His heart, which is the desires He puts in there. But it's your faith that opens the hands of God to bring them about in your life. And for this reason, you can only go as far in life as your faith is strong enough to take you. At least some of those things we were previously talked about. But I believe in the principle of reinforcement. We have to reinforce these principles in our life every day. You remember when you tried to learn to ride your first bike and how awkward it was at the very beginning, and falling off and falling down, and running into things. But then after a while, your eyes, your hands, and your motor skills got it where you're able just to ride the bike without ease. You can balance it. You don't even have to put your hands on the handlebar. This is because of reinforcement of the things that you did wrong, that you learned to do right. And you begin to ride that bike with ease. And that's the way it is with our Christian life. We need to reinforce these principles to become where they become just second nature in our life. And this is what we looked at last couple of days, and I want to reinforce them again this morning. Because what I'm trying to do is to help us to tap into the potential of the faith that we have available to us, because God is the one that gives us faith, as He is the one that gives us grace. You will understand that faith is the key that unlocks the power of God in your life. We saw this just this week with the attitude of expectancy. I expect God to do great things today. I expect God to do great things in my life. I'm expecting God to choose the very best in every situation. And the key is the word choice. You choose. See, faith is something you choose. God has given us a measure of faith. The faith to believe Him, that He is our Lord and Savior. But we are to build upon that measure of faith that God gives us, as we are to build upon grace that God gives us. But that's not all there is. There's much more to faith than just choosing to have a positive mental attitude. And that's not what I'm talking about. Even though having a positive mental attitude can take you a long ways. but faith can take you further. When I began looking at the word faith, exploring faith in my Christian life, I first had the idea that faith would be a very strong feeling that I would feel in my heart or in my spirit. That I would be able to manifest itself with a sense of certainty, devoid of any sentiments of doubt. I thought that when I became a person of great faith, I could pray for specific miracles at times, and I would know and I would feel that God was about to do something great. But here's the problem that I encounter. See, I had the idea that faith is a feeling, that faith resides in my gut, for example. If you feel right, you got faith. If you don't feel right, then I didn't have enough faith. And when I prayed, I would try to work up these feelings. Sometimes I was able to do it, sometimes I wasn't. When my prayers weren't answered the right way, I would think I must not have felt it enough, must not have enough faith. I learned that I was going about it all wrong. And so I'm sure today is that faith is not something that you feel. Faith is something that you decide, along with something that you do. It's a choice that you and I make, to think a certain way and to act a certain way. When you want to engage your faith, it's not about engaging your feelings, it's about engaging your thoughts and engaging your actions. That's why we talked about faith begins with an attitude of expectation. But how do we express that? James, the brother of Jesus, wrote in James chapter 2, verse 17, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Now, I'm not talking about work ministry. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm talking about putting your faith into action. In verse 26 of the same chapter, he says, as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead. Works means corresponding action. Not doing works for salvation, not doing works to get credit, but doing the things that respond to your beliefs. Corresponding actions. Faith without corresponding actions is dead. It doesn't say that faith without corresponding feeling is dead. It doesn't say that faith without emotional rush is dead. It says that faith without works, without corresponding action, is dead. If you want to ignite your faith, you back it up with what you do. So I want us to look at one principle to help us do that. That principle is take actions that are consistent with what you're asking for. And we've talked about this, but I want to re-emphasize it. I read a story, many of you probably have read many stories like this or know people like this, who was facing some very serious health issues, to the point that his life was at risk. His family and friends, his entire church was praying for this man that God would miraculously intervene and heal him. One of the reasons this man was so sick that over the years of his life he had some real bad lifestyle habits, things that weren't conducive to good health. He didn't exercise. He was overweight. He loved pork. He loved sugar products. When he went to his doctor told him he had to clean up his habits, his act. He resisted. His family finally got to the point where they approached him and says, Dad, you've got to start taking better care of yourself. You've got to get rid of some of these bad habits. You've got to start eating right. You've got to start exercising, etc., etc. He said, if God gets me through this, I promise I'll be serious about my health. An article goes on to say one of his daughters said to him, Dad, God won't heal you until you get serious about your health. Then he responded with this statement, well, what's the point of me giving up food that I like if I'm going to die anyway? With this attitude, he was asking God for a miracle. With his words, he was asking God for a miracle. But through his actions, he was not asking for anything at all. I hope you can see the comparison I'm trying to make. The story goes on to state that he decided to start doing something about his lifestyle to help his health get better. He gave up the bacon that he loved and the donuts, and he started exercising. For years, he had been sleeping on a recliner, the TV blaring all night long. But he decided to cut the TV off and go to bed and get some proper rest. He started living today as he was living if he had his health back. And over a period of time, he began feeling better. Better than he had felt in years. His turnaround was too dramatic to be anything less than a miracle. Because he wasn't able to do it on his own. He began to rely on the power of God to restore his health. And his corresponding actions increased that power of faith in his life. I hope you can see the connection. See, there are things that you and I are believing God to accomplish in our life. And we need to ask ourselves, what actions, which actions can I take that are consistent with what I'm asking God to do? We all have a tendency to say, when and if God solves these problems, I'll get serious about doing right. When if God heals my marriage, I'll be a better husband. When if God gives me the better paying job, I'll be a harder working employee. When if God resolves my financial problems, I'll start tithing or be more generous. When and if God heals my body, I'll start taking care of myself. But what you and I need to understand is this: there will not be a when unless we start taking action now. Let me say it again. There will not be a when unless you and I start taking action now. Action that is consistent with what we're asking God for. Do you want to ignite your faith? Then my prayer for us is that we begin to start taking steps that are consistent with what you're trusting God to do. Now, I can't answer that question for you. You can only answer that question for yourself. What miracle in your life, what prayer are you asking God for? What vacancy do you want God to fill in your life? And then ask yourself, what steps I'm taking to bring that about in my life and faith? Just like the man that I shared with you that had bad health. His first attitude was, well, I'm going to die anyway, so I might as well live the life that I want to live. But he was encouraged by his family, his friends, his doctor. If you want to live, then you need to start living right. So he started living right. And his life improved. So what are you asking God for? And secondly, what are you doing in faith to bring that about in your life? I hope this has been a blessing to you. If it has, I appreciate you passing it on to your friends on Facebook. If you need a prayer, please send me a prayer request. I would pray for you, petition the mercy seat of God for you and your life and your needs. And I covet your prayers for my life and the ministry, for my work and what God is doing. God bless you. I pray that He'll bless you exceedingly abundantly more than you ever ask or think. And my prayer for you today is that you have a grace-filled day. God bless you. Have a grace-filled day.